What's the word on the ground over there? Are people talking about this enough? You roam around the world when it comes to all these multilateral geopolitical events, Manish. I mean, why? Why do we still have this stereotypical racism that seeps into every kind of argument or criticism that they bring in about our country?
So see, Kabir, it's like this. Uh, there is an element of delusion here. You're living in your own fantasy world. Some of them, the people who are behind this cartoon, obviously their agenda to denigrate India, and they did it deliberately. But let me tell you what is the feeling on the ground, assessment on the ground. This cartoon contrasts very starkly with what the leaders of these Nordic countries, what the more aware political class and others think about India. And we saw yesterday at the India Nordic Summit, where Prime Minister Modi was with the leaders of Sweden, Iceland, Finland, and all that. There was such a, I would call it India optimism.
Yeah.
In fact, Norwegian Prime Minister hailed India as a world leader in technology and innovation. And Denmark's Prime Minister said all of us are not even middle powers. India is a big power. So, the image of India, and we saw the business interaction with the Prime Minister Modi interacted with CEOs of both sides. And there again, there was so much enthusiasm about investing in India. So my take on this and what I feel here is that there is an element of exaggeration. First of all, satire is a spice of democracy in some ways, but this was not just satire, because what were they satirizing? Satire also got to have a point. Satire cannot be disconnected.
This was
with
Western
reality.
prejudice. I don't know what else you should call it.
That's right.
It was
that's
a nasty
right.
cartoon, just like the ambassador said.
Right. So that was the hubris, I would say. As they say in Hindi, that rassi jal gayi par bal nahi gaya. There is a Hindi idiom which you cannot match, which is that these are declining, not these Nordic countries, but essentially the West has this, hubris about its place in the world, and they see a rising India, and they're living. What I think it reflects more about them, that you are out of sync with the reality. I mean, you're talking about snake charmer, which goes back a few decades ago, which means these people have clearly not updated their worldview. They are hopelessly out of touch. And, we also found the same thing, by the way, not just in that cartoon, but about that woman journalist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who asked that question about why should the world trust India? And, she should have listened to what other Nordic countries were saying. Why they trust India, why they're having this, multifaceted, all-encompassing partnership. If India was not worth trusting, why would they do it? And all the major powers. India is now today the indispensable player in the global system. Of course, every country has its problems. So, this cartoon is emanated from a segment of vested interest in the West who specialize in India baiting, Modi baiting. In fact, this is an industry of sort. A cottage industry has sprung up who has constantly, relentlessly demonize Prime Minister Modi for whatever. I was asked some questions about some people, Hindu nationalism and all that. I mean, it's like you're missing the wood for the tree, This is like the whole thing is so distorting. There are people who are trying to provoke us. And in fact, that question, why should the world trust India? I mean, obviously, this was a very cleverly orchestrated, and they have succeeded.